Randy Bachman is one of the most creative and influential figures rock and roll has ever seen. With a career that has spanned more than 5 decades, he's picked up nearly 120 platinum and gold records.
Woman, stay away from me.
Randy and the Guess Who were the first Canadian band to top the Billboard charts with the instant classic American Woman. The hits kept coming when he formed Bachman Turner Overdrive, and songs like Taking Care of Business. He's since become the voice of a radio show connecting him with a new generation of music. And his latest project has him paying tribute to the legendary Beatle George Harrison.
The album is incredible. It's funny, I heard you say something about how George Harrison was the quiet Beatle, and I heard you say, and I was the quiet member of the Guess Who. Yeah. What prompted you to say that?
Well, in every band, you get together 3 or 4 or 5 guys that are quite different ethnicities and things like that, different ages in being born, in a family. And I always felt I was born to be mild. And when I got with a guy like Burton Cummings, he was born to be wild. So they always had this to and fro tug of war, which is what happens with great couples. Lennon, McCartney, Jagger, and Richards, there's quite a difference there. But when you agree on something, it's ka-ching. Do you know what I mean? It's like all of these people that are like me and all these people that are like him, and we come together on this song or this idea, we're going to have twice as many people like it rather than my followers. So yeah. It's like 1 + 1 = 3, a bigger thing. And that's kind of like, to me, what life is, even in a family. All the kids born are not equal. They don't have the same personalities. It's worse in a band.
This creative album...
You can't quit your family, but you can quit a band. Or they could throw you out, whatever. Right? Sometimes your dad throws you out when you're 22 and living in the basement, but, you know.
This is such a creative album and opens the door for more creative live shows. There's probably few people on the planet who have as much wonderful live experience as you, and you can make the argument today the live performance is more important to the music business than ever before. What have you learned on the road over the years?
Well, it started out with like no airplay, no record sales. You just go on the road and play. And you start at the bottom, church basements, gymnasiums, high schools, colleges. Then a radio station might say, we're having 3 of you guys together, we're having it outdoors in a park. We'll play your new record. Well, of course, you'll go and do that. Then they play your record, then you start selling records, and you get better gigs and better gigs. Like any business. All musicians, or they used to, start in the mailroom. Now, if you've got a good voice, you go and audition for Searchlight or The Voice or America's Got Talent, and bada bing, you're on there. But as fast as that happens, it could be over, because the minute the new idol is in, who's last year's idol? Gee, I forget. Who was that? What happened to that guy?
Yeah, and you think about all the hits the Beatles had, all the hits you've had in this hit-driven business, but you've always had this mentality that you're going to have hits and you're going to have strikeouts. I mean, yeah. What's the mentality you need to have success in this business, do you think?
Well, somebody told me this long ago. Who's your favorite home run hitter? Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio. These guys had a batting average of .395 or .400, and nobody says, do you know that Babe Ruth struck out 8,000 times, 7,000 times? He went to hit it out of the park every time. Nobody booed when he struck out. They waited and waited, and when that thing hit, kind of bing, out of the park, they win the game.
Yeah.
And Mickey Mantle, same thing. These guys, in the year that they got the best batting average and got their home run awards, they also were strikeout kings. Nobody mentions that. Nobody mentions my failures. I certainly know them. But why did that fail, or why didn't that happen? Well, it's timing. Maybe I should redo that song. Like I wrote Taking Care of Business in '67. It was called White Collar Worker. Until I let it grow up and change my ideas about the song, change everything about it, and come out like 5-6 years later as Taking Care of Business. Same lyrics, but changing one chorus line. It's become like a standard party song all around the world.
What do you make of that? The fact that these songs are so important to music fans, but also become a part of pop culture, commercials and sporting events, even political events.
Yeah. They score a goal, they play Taking Care of Business, or We Will Rock You or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on the business side, how do you feel about that?
Well, it's great. It's great to know your songs resonate. Some of my greatest stories that guys have told me is American soldiers going into war in a desert storm and stuff in their tank, going out knowing they might not come back, playing Taking Care of Business. And I go, oh my God, my song's like their battle cry, and they might not come back. I've also had teachers call me saying, we teach autistic children, and every morning at 8 o'clock where they're all there and they're all like kind of scattered, we pull them together playing Taking Care of Business, and they all clap and sing Taking Care of Business, and then we've got their attention. I go, wow, that's just amazing. This song is like, touches so many people, and it relates to, or they relate to it in different ways.
Yeah. The hits in some way become like your annuities. You know, some people invest in stocks or real estate. I mean, how do you think about that? You know, for investing or
other songwriters used to say, we'll never use our song for a commercial. It's sacrilegious. And I go, I write songs for two reasons: to make myself and other people happy, because it expresses emotion, and to make money, because I'm sick of selling shoes and washing cars and having a paper route, right? That kind of thing. No matter how old you are, you'd be surprised how many guys deliver papers who are musicians or drive a taxi or are Uber drivers in their spare time because you just can't make enough money. And so that kind of becomes, I let my songs be used, but I scrutinize every use of my songs. I don't want them used for drugs or alcohol or anything like that. And I've done very well with that, turning down millions from beer companies, and then a year later getting Office Depot that wants you taking care of business. I go, that's the perfect marriage of school supplies and office supplies. We're taking care of business, and it's a family thing. It's very Disney-esque, rather than a beer company saying taking care of business. I don't want that. I don't drink. I've never drank or done drugs or smoked, and I don't want my stuff used for, back then, tobacco ads. To say to other people, this is really good when you're having a good time, and have my song in the background, forget about it.
Well, along with being so creative, and I think that shines through with the new album, one word that comes to mind with you is driven. And I think, you know, if you look in business, entrepreneurs who start a business and then go on to start another business and then maybe go on to another one. I mean, starting a new band, that is not an easy thing to do. But you seem to always have this purpose. You're pushing forward. What is it that drives you?
The fear of having to get a real job.
Really?
Well, my dad kept saying, this is never going to work, have a real job. My plan B is stick to plan A. It's like music, no matter what happens, you keep doing that. So you get shafted, and you play a great concert for 3,000 or 30,000 people, and you don't get paid. Well, you played for 30,000 people, you made them happy, you had a great time, right? You just, no matter what, you play the game. In the rain or the snow, you're playing, it's the Grey Cup. You know, every game's got to be the Grey Cup. For me, every show is Woodstock or Monterey. You're out there and you're doing your thing. And the less people there are, the harder it is, the more nervous you get. I played in a church for services, like classical guitar, while people are singing something, and that's more nerve-wracking for 80 people in a little church than 80,000 at a festival outside. And a festival is just a blur, and then everyone's like the sunshine, and they're drinking or smoking, whatever they're doing, they're eating. But when this captive audience like that, and all the eyes are on you, and you've got to play this thing by Bach or Ode to Joy or something perfectly in a classical guitar, that's like real pressure.
Yeah. This album is just a reminder that there's always something new coming from Randy Bachman. Yeah. You'll celebrate your 75th birthday this year. Is there anything?
By the way, 75 is the new 60.
Well said. I mean, is there anything on the to-do list? Anything that you haven't done that you just have to do?
This pretty much ends it. They're saying, how are you going to follow this? And I'm saying, are you going to do a Lennon McCartney one? I don't think so. Like, I was always the George of the band. When the Beatles album came out, I waited for the George song. I was lead guitar. Our drummer waited for the Ringo song. He sang A Little Help from My Friends and Yellow Submarine and Boys and all the Ringo songs, and I got to sing the George songs. So just me reimagining these songs, like Junior Walker redid These Eyes, Lenny Kravitz did American Woman. They changed a little bit to make it their own, and you realize why they have to change it. Nobody wants to hear somebody else singing the same record. The same song, okay, and reinterpret it. I love listening to Jazz FM here in Toronto because it's Bucky Pizzarelli or it's somebody else, or Aretha Franklin doing a Beatles song or a Joni Mitchell song, and they're changing it. They're bringing it to a whole new audience. And so I think, I hope I've done that with the George song. The old audience loves it, but their kids are liking it because there's new hip hop beats in there and acid jazz, and there's a lot of Gypsy Kings and a lot of that stuff. I just got to see the Gypsy King at the beginning of their tour 2 years ago, and when they ended the tour at Fallsview, I went to Casino Rama 2 years ago in Fallsview. The same guys, but they wonderful rhythm guitar, and you'll hear that in a couple of these songs. I just went crazy because it's such a happy, infectious rhythm that they create with the guitars, and I wanted to put that in some of George's songs and just bring new life to them.